Hi, I'm Femi OK. Today a look at two stories big in the headlines and very loud on social. You're on the stream live on Al Jazeera English and on YouTube. In India, is the economic boom about to go bust? And Catalonia has declared independence. Spain has filed criminal charges against its leaders. So where do things go from here? Bianca Facchinei is following just some of the wide-ranging conversations on both sides of the fiery Catalonia debate. Mika.
Today, the history of Europe has changed again. A new country is claiming its place, Catalonia.
Well, since the Catalan government declared independence from Spain Friday, online conversation praising the decision has grown, with a number of hashtags on Twitter trending immediately after the declaration. Phrases like "Welcome Catalonia" and "The Catalan Republic is here" popped up in tweets from people sharing their excitement for an independent Catalonia. But not everyone in the region supports secession from Spain. Hundreds of thousands of people rallied in the streets of Barcelona Sunday in favor of Spain, with some using Catalan and Spanish hashtags translating to "All of us are Catalonia" to express their support for unity and disappointment in the decision. Still, the independence declaration is inspiring other independence movements around the world. As Free Scotland on Facebook writes, "Congratulations, Catalonia. Scotland next." And Lou Van Dan says, "Freedom is not given, freedom is taken. Catalans just took their freedom." Fellow Biafrans, home and in diaspora, Nigeria will never give you freedom. You have to take your freedom from Nigeria. So what do you think of Catalonia's independence movement? We want to hear from you. Tweet me and I'll bring up your thoughts to today's guests.
Malika, thank you so much. Joining us now in Barcelona, Jordi Vilanova is a pro-independence activist and Al Jazeera senior correspondent Hoda Abdulhamid. Good to have you both with us. Jordi, you have a broad smile on your face. What is going on right now down on the ground to make you smile so broadly?
Well, I'm pretty convinced that things will go right in the long term. There's a lot of cat and mouse going on between the two governments, and there are a lot of things going on behind the scenes, but I'm pretty confident that my side will be able to bring forward the freedom of the Catalan people, even though I do understand that there are many Catalans who don't agree with me. But I think that this is a huge opportunity to build a new country, a new state, a new administration for Catalonia and for all the Catalans to go forward.
On a scale of 1 to 10, Jordi, 1 being I know absolutely everything that's going on, 10 being extremely confusing, where are you on this scale of confusion right now?
I would say I'd be on 9 and 2, both at the same time. In other words, I don't really know. I'm not absolutely sure what's going on because there's a lot of stuff, as I say, going on behind closed doors. But there are a series of things that make me pretty confident that things are going ahead. In other words, this is not a stalemate anymore. I think that, in fact, some mediation has been going on behind the scenes, but neither side can admit to it, especially not the Spanish side. But that's just the feeling I have. I've been speaking with people throughout the day and over the weekend. There was serious concern about what was going on because apparently the declaration had been made, but it hasn't. The Spanish flag is still flying above the palace of the presidential palace of the Generalitat, which is the Catalan government. But there are signs that the Madrid administration is softening up. So it sounds like things are going a bit better than they were a week ago.
And that could be what's leading to some of the confusion online about people saying they don't actually know what's going on. Here's this tweet from Nuria, another resident of Catalonia. She says, "I work in a big company where people have different opinions. On Friday, after the declaration, we continue to work as normal." Hoda, you see this tweet from Nuria saying life is normal on Friday. Today, what is life like on the streets? What is the mood like?
Oh, it's definitely normal. I mean, I'm sure you're a journalist.
Do you want to hold tight for a moment? We're just going to ask that to Hoda.
Well, if you go around Barcelona, it's as if nothing is happening at all. I mean, you have the touristic areas that are completely packed with people. Businesses are open, traffic is flowing, people are going to work. So it does feel very normal. But then you go up to certain places like the square where I am now, and that building behind me, I don't know if you can see it, that's the seat of the Catalan government, and that has been a focal point throughout the day. You had a lot of people coming to check what's going on, simply because no one has heard of the Catalan now deposed leader, Carles Puigdemont, since Saturday, basically. He appeared on social media, pictures of him walking around his hometown. Today is the first day of the week. People were expecting that maybe the members of his cabinet or himself will try to get into this building. He would be stopped by the police because of orders coming from Madrid. None of that happened. And then throughout the day, we've been running around rumors about his whereabouts. At the moment, it seems that he is in Belgium, at least, maybe also Brussels. His lawyer just lately said that he is in Belgium and he doesn't know for how long. So I did hear people say, okay, so there was a declaration of independence, but then now the leader's gone and nothing has happened since. So certainly it is a very confusing time for Catalans, for at least the people I met here in Barcelona, and especially that, as you mentioned, there are divisions. There are a lot of people who are against all of this. They call themselves a silent majority. Polls show that they could be actually a majority. They didn't get to vote. They had this massive rally yesterday, but they feel completely left out, angered about the situation, and they say that there's a regional government and political parties went ahead pretending to basically represent them too, but they're not being represented. So you have that sort of anger and anxiety lingering, even though when you look at the city, everything seems absolutely normal.
Hoda, I'm just jumping on your social media feed, your Twitter feed here, and we've got Catalan and Spanish flags at the pro-unity rally in Barcelona. The message, we are Catalan and Spaniards, hashtag Catalan independence. Just looking at this, very different picture from Monday. Obviously, Monday is a work day in Barcelona, but that balance between the activists who are delighted with what's going on.
Absolutely. The people yesterday were saying that...
Yeah, please continue.
So the people at the rally yesterday had both the Catalan flag and the Spanish flag, not the independence flag. They kept on making the difference. They're saying Catalan and Spain are two sides of the same coin. So they were saying, and actually they were talking in Catalan, and the speeches given were in the Catalan dialect. So they were actually making a point to show their Catalan identity, but they simply did not want to be part of an independent country. Many said maybe the idea is okay, but not under these conditions. At the moment, they see that they have a better life if they're part of Spain.
Yeah, if I may just say something
Go
there.
ahead.
First of all, the point I'd like to make is that first, the Catalan is not a dialect. It's a recognized language by any linguist. And secondly, there's an issue here which concerns me, which is that your correspondent said that they felt left out. Now, in fact, those who are leaving them out are those who refuse to allow them to participate in a referendum, those who say that the referendum is illegal. That's who is leaving them out, because what the Catalan administration wants is for them to vote as well, for them to vote no. But the Spanish administration has insisted in not allowing a referendum, saying it's illegal, and thus putting them in a position where they feel they can't vote. And I'd like to see them vote no if that's what they want. I mean, the thing would be really clear if a referendum were allowed and those who are in favor vote yes and those who are against vote no. Instead, what the Spanish administration has provoked is that there are these huge rallies on both sides, which try to represent each of those sides, but we don't really know who's who and how many of us there are.
All right.
So it's impossible to come to a final decision on the issue.
All right, Jordi Villanova and Hoda Abdelhamid, I know that we were going to be following this almost every news bulletin, certainly for the next couple of weeks. Thank you very much for being part of the stream today. Malika.
Well, now we head to India, where our next story on the Indian economy starts with a Tamil film. 4 million people in India marked their tweets with the name of that blockbuster Tamil film, Mersal, this month. But the movie isn't just making headlines for its screenplay. It's in the center of a political controversy with India's ruling party, the BJP. Tamil Nadu's state BJP president argued the scenes create the wrong impression of India's government schemes and called for their removal. There are conflicting reports about whether the film's producers will cut the scenes out of the movie. But opposition lawmakers fired back with their thoughts. This MP says, notice to filmmakers, law is coming. You can only make documentaries praising government's policies. And Indian National Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi tweets, Mr. Modi, cinema is a deep expression of Tamil culture and language. Don't try to demonetize Tamil pride by interfering in Mersal. Well, supporters of the film have also started their own Twitter war, pitting Mersal's hero against India's Prime Minister Modi. But while 300,000 people have been using that hashtag, Modi hasn't personally stepped into the fray.
Thank you, Malika. Prime Minister Modi campaigned on a platform of Achhe Din, or good days. But is that being reflected in the state of the economy with demonetisation in 2016 and also the GST from this year? Joining us from Mumbai, Vivek Kaul is an economics commentator and author of India's Big Government, The Intrusive State and How It's Hurting Us. And in Noida, Karan Kashyap is a writer for Forbes Asia. Gentlemen, it's good to have you here. Let's unpack this idea of the goods and services tax. A simple unpacking, if that is possible. Let me show you this. Shameen Butt said to us about the GST. It's the systematic way of robbing people. A particular perspective there. Vivek, how would you explain the GST for us as a global audience?
So GST is like any other value-added tax, which is introduced in countries across the world. The problem in India is in the way it has been introduced and implemented. That has led to a huge mess. The government sort of hurried the GST in on July 1st when the IT backbone, which is at the heart of the GST, wasn't really ready. Over and above that, what has happened is that there are way too many rates. Typically, value-added tax is successful if there are 2 to 3 rates at best. India has close to 5 to 6 rates. Over and above that, what has also happened is that too many changes have been introduced since the GST was introduced on July 1st. In fact, the joke going around now is that even the accountants can't keep track of how many changes have been introduced.
So there is a tweet here from someone who might agree with that joke. This is Om Namaha, who says, the GST is a big blunder. They should have created a proper framework and launched it after winning in 2019, the next elections. Small business owners hate GST. And he goes on to say, those rates, they're extreme for hotel industries and small businesses, and they've caused a lot of outrage. Karan, can you talk to us about what the GST means for small business owners, fruit sellers on the street, or people that sell gold, people with their own shops? What has this meant for them?
So basically, whatever Vivek said, I'd like to add a few things to that. GST actually is one consolidated tax under which various other taxes came together. It is implemented all across the economy, and under this umbrella, you have smaller business players or entrepreneurs who are impacted adversely currently. Now, the reason for this is, like Vivek said, people don't have enough information regarding what GST is about. They know GST is for their good, but why is it for their good? Nobody knows that, or probably there are too many theories out there which are trying to explain the same thing. For a small, let's say, a fruit seller, he probably would have issues regarding GST. I mean, most of the people who are from the lower strata of the society, they have the fear of unknown over here because they don't know anything, there's not enough information. And of course, like there are different slabs. If you're a restaurant owner non-AC waste slab is different than AC slab. So if, for example, a person goes to eat food,
So Karan, just slow down for a second, because we're trying to keep up with you. Different slabs. Slab is different rates, basically. Different rates for different goods that you might want to buy that will have different kinds of tax on them. Correct?
Yeah, so you have some like tax slabs, right? So you have 5%, 12%, 18%. So if you're, for example, in an AC restaurant, eating in an AC restaurant, then you pay 18%, but a non-AC restaurant would be 12%. Similarly, for example, Marcel, the controversy, the film you're talking about, in that there's a dialogue regarding the healthcare services. The healthcare services are apparently exempted from the tax, but then there are certain medicines which are included in the tax. So people are actually confused, and because of which they are having trouble and, of course, fear in doing business, everyday business.
Can I add to that?
Yes, sure, but let me just show our audience, if I may, Vivek, just before you jump in, the idea of a goods and sales tax and goods and services tax. It's not unusual. There are many places around the world, and we picked some of them so you can see how India compares. So let's have a look. New Zealand, 15%, Austria, 20%, that's quite high. Sweden has 25%. India has different percentage or different levels for different kind of goods, and that's what Karun was saying about the different slabs there. But actually lots of different countries have different rates for different kinds of goods and services. Vivek, what were you about to say?
Okay, so basically I wanted to make 2 points. The first point was regarding the fruit seller. I mean, so the fruit seller, the small fruit seller would not get impacted primarily because GST kicks in only if your turnover is greater than 2 million rupees a year. Okay, that's the first point. The second point is regarding multiple rates. You know, what happens is it creates needless confusion, and it also creates inequality in some cases. So to give you an example, you know, condoms, there is no GST on condoms, whereas on tampons or sanitary pads, as we call them in India, the GST rate is 12%.
Yeah.
So, you know,
that happens in many other places around the world, Vivek, and it's very annoying for lots of women who are asking, why would this not be something that everybody has to use, every woman has to use? Okay, exactly. Continue.
Okay, so, you know, so basically what has happened is, you know, they have hurried the implementation. They have not been prepared for it, and at some level, you know, taxes and any kind of tax, I mean, this need not be a value-added tax, are successful when they are simple to execute. Because at the end of the day, you know, the government just frames the rules. It's the people who need to follow those rules and pay the tax. And if the rules are not simple, you know, it sort of creates problems. I mean, I can.
Well, Vivek, I mean, it's interesting you say that, because there's at least one person on Twitter. This is Akash. He says this is much simpler than what it used to be. The GST will help consumers and traders, as there now will be no harassment inspector, Raj. And he also says the complexity of the previous system made logistics very onerous and costly. Unofficial bribes were commonplace. So it seems to say, he seems to be saying that this will alleviate some of those problems. Do you agree with that?
See, okay, I don't. You know, simply because the earlier system was not as you know, wide-ranging as the current system is. You know, at some level, the earlier system concerned only the corporate players and the big institutional players. Now, this GST at the other level goes down to the lowest common denominator, and it is not simple enough. It may be simpler than the previous system, but it is still not simple for an average, you know, small entrepreneur to follow the rules and regulations, and at the same time have enough time left to carry out his normal activities. I mean, I can give you my simple example. You know, I mean, I pay service tax as a freelance professional, and earlier, you know, I used to probably spend one, you know, day a month, or even less than that, preparing you know, documents and everything so as to be able to file the tax. Now I spend close to 4 to 5 times, you know, the time that I used to spend earlier. So it's not simple. It's simpler than the earlier system in many cases, but it is not simple in many other cases.
Okay.
So you cannot have a one size you yeah, you know.
Okay, Karun,
it's-
what were you going to ask?
Can I say one thing on this?
Please.
What Vivek was just saying, I mean, I think this is very, I mean, we are in very early days. One has to remember that GST was just implemented in July. So in 2 months' time, you're actually understanding a system and then implementing it in everyday life. So what he's experiencing over a period of time as he gets more accustomed to the GST ways.
Not really. No, I don't agree because of the simple fact that
Vivek,
finish, let me
allow
finish,
Karun to
Vivek.
finish because he allowed you to finish, just so we can hear the end of his thought. Continue, Karun, please.
So what I was trying to say was, because earlier on, as with any process, whether it's learning how to cycle, it seems difficult earlier on. As time passes by, the number of hours which you devote for a certain purpose, such as what Vivek was saying, goes down, and hence you would move on to better things, and efficiency increases, and so does productivity. That's how most of humans function. I mean, that's behavioral science.
No, I mean, that is not behavioral science. I don't agree. It's, you know, this is the sort of answer that's obviously, you know, it's been propagated by, you know, people who support this government. I mean, having been a part of the earlier system and now being part of the current system, I can tell you that the current system is inherently complicated. Obviously, one gets used to, but one gets used to everything in life. That does not mean that the system itself is simple enough. I mean, there are many things that can be done in order to simplify this current system so that, you know, more and more people come onto the GST bandwagon. I mean, for starters, I mean, you know, there are 6 to 7 rates. I mean, it's just bizarre. I mean, if you have 7 rates, you will obviously end up creating confusion.
Sure.
So you need to sort of, you know, whittle it down to 2 or 3 rates so that, you know, people can understand and.
Okay, so gentlemen, something that I found, which was at AskGST_goal, was just online trying to help people navigate what the GST actually meant and how to navigate it. Malika, what do you have?
So we're widening this conversation out a little bit online with people talking about the current state of the economy and what the GST means for that. This is via YouTube Live. Nofal says, I had faith in Prime Minister Modi in the first 2 years, but I completely lost faith as he's done more blunders than good and his policies are only for show business. This is, of course, speaking of the economy. Karan, take us into your health checkup on the economy. Of course, we're also a year since the demonetization. We got a lot of tweets about that as well. Where would you say the economy is right now?
I would say, I mean, the intention is there, but execution has been a problem because of the fact that we are doing 25% in different sectors rather than just concentrating in one area, one step at a time. We are, I mean, doing too many things. I mean, we are trying to transform the economy rather than reforming it with a thought of plan. Demonetization was done with certain economic angles, with political angles included in it. It had its benefits in the form of it led to the digital, the increase in usage, digital for example, fintech industry in India gained from it. There were a lot of people who use smartphones for making the money transactions.
So Karan, just very briefly, we're right at the end of the show. The state of India economy, how would you finish that sentence?
The state of the Indian economy is in transition right now. In next 3-4 months or 6 months, we are going to see something better. And hopefully we should have patience to ride out these 6 months to get better, higher rate of growth as predicted by World Bank or IMF.
All right. So Karan and Vivek, thank you so much for joining us here on the stream. We really appreciate your insight about the Indian economy right now. Malika, how's this conversation going online?
I will end with this tweet. It's negative, so this is not the only representation, but SAFE says the hasty decision to implement GST is an imminent failure as it lacks careful nuance and policy making. So we'll have to check in on that later.
Absolutely. As always, our conversations continue online using hashtag AJStream. And of course, you can watch us every day, Monday through Thursday, on YouTube at 19:30 GMT. Thanks for watching. See you next time.